Well, hey there, all you beautiful Texans. Welcome back to the James Show. It's News Talk 820 WBAP, now on FM at 93.3. Oh, studio audience, why are you laying out on me? It's the day after the election. Yes. Should be a little more excited. Thank you. Thank you. I make no apologies about how immature and childish and gloating the next 3 hours are going to be. I think we deserve it. I think this is a good time to remember these people. Eventually, you want them to win them over to your side, and you know every person who's your political opponent is a potential political ally. So let's not go burning bridges, but can we just gloat for a day or two? Can you just enjoy it? I mean, no one has any problem with that, right? So we're gonna have. Oh man. I don't know. I feel like I'm a bad person. Like, I feel like morally, ethically, it's not right to just go through your phone and go through TikTok or Twitter and just enjoy all the people crying. But I find that to be so delicious. Anyway, I recorded a bunch of them, and you and I are just going to giggle our little pants off at these people crying because they think the world's going to end. They think that literally Hitler just got elected. So they're a little upset. Checking on some of your Team Blue friends today. But the first question I want to ask you, Trump wins the White House. Looks like he's also going to get the House and the Senate. What do you want to see him do first? 800-288-9227. 800-288-9227. My first guest, Francis Floresca, back on the James Show. Welcome. Your first reaction to last night's election results.
Oh, my goodness. The news keeps changing every minute, and I can't seem to keep up with it. But this feels like 2016 all over again. But this time, Donald Trump has also won the popular vote and not just the Electoral College. And I love how the Republican Party was able to play this game in order to win. They pushed for ballot harvesting. They pushed for people to go to the polls early. And, you know, even if we don't like it, we had to use that to play the game in order to win. And it paid off.
Yeah, and I like that comparison to 2016 because you see the same sort of anger immediately following the results because people were like, hang on, this is not what I expected. This is not what the polls were telling me just a few hours ago. And so you see that the real world doesn't match up with their expectations. And they're pretty upset about that.
It definitely was. And, you know, a lot of us saw this coming even months ago. In fact, I wasn't even that optimistic until just a few months ago, but even more people weren't as optimistic until, let's just say, last week. And the polls, they always kind of tend to skew towards the Democrats. But as we know, they were so close in margins that we knew that Trump was pretty much going to win right away because in 2020, just before the election, the polls were kind of skewing towards Biden and just a few towards Trump, but it just so happened that a lot of them were already skewing towards Trump this time around.
Well, Francis, you spent a lot of time advocating for the reduction of size of government, you know, getting rid of government waste. You've got to be pretty optimistic about this new DOGE, the Department of Government Efficiency that Elon Musk could be running. Do you think that's going to happen?
Oh, I hope it does. I mean, we need more efficiency right now in the government. There's so much terrible government spending. We saw this through the so-called Inflation Reduction Act, where they ended up spending a lot more money. And instead of spending more money to reduce inflation, they should be removing a lot of government barriers to make things more affordable.
Well, Francis, going forward, let me ask you the same question I'm asking our callers first today. What would you like to see him do first? He's got the White House, the House of Representatives, the Senate. What do you think should be the top agenda priority?
Well, I actually do a lot in education policy, and the biggest thing I would love to see him do first, which I've been calling on for years, is for him to eliminate the Department of Education. Education should be back in the states because when the Department of Education was created, our education system has just tremendously dropped in this country. And I would love to see more opportunities for school choice in this country. And sadly, we did see some school choice ballot measures lose. But there in Texas, I know you kind of had a lot skewed towards school choice with a lot of those victories in the state legislature. And hopefully we'll continue to get more school choice around the country.
Yes, I share all of those sentiments. Francis Floresca, where can they find you online?
Okay. So I am on Instagram Francis and Flo, FranceSanneflo. Then Twitter, FranceSanneflo. So they're pretty much the same.
All right. Thank you very much for your time, Francis Floresca on The James Show. Hope to talk to you again soon.
Thank you so much. Have a great day.
All right. Now, listen, we all have friends that are Team Blue, and I don't want you to rub it in our time, man. It's hilarious. I have a ton of crying libs to play, but I think I'm going to do phones first because you're already lining up nicely. Crying libs, and also I'm asking you, 800-288-9227. What would you like to see Trump do first? He has the White House, House, and Senate. If he only gets one thing through, what should he start with? I'll tell you what I think he should start with coming up in 5 minutes on The James Show. 800-288-9227. I'm James Parker. It's News Talk 820 WBAP, now on FM at 93.3. Are we playing Taylor Swift just to rub it in? Is that what we're doing? 800-288-9227. Sorry, I was a little late coming back from the break there. I just crashed all the network servers here for the entire Cumulus Media Corporation. I was downloading all the crying from people online. Isn't that a weird behavioral trait that you see here, this pattern? This is right up there with cutting your junk off. Like, that's the last thing I would want to do as a man is turn on my phone. Like, I can't pretend like I've never cried and I'm never going to cry again, and I don't cry sometimes. But when I do, I at least have the wherewithal to like try and hide it. And what good does it do for you to turn on the camera and just cry into it? This sucks. This is terrible. What are you doing? You're not embarrassed by that? You want the world to see you crying? You want the world to see you being weak and whiny and ugly faced? Is that what you want the world to see? That is weird. Like, it's women get a pass on this one, but I can't understand for 1 second all these dudes that are just ugly face crying. And on TikTok's the best, isn't it? I think that's where all the weak people go. I don't know. It's a good day though, isn't it? I mean, I feel like, I don't know, like we can just go ahead and start Christmas now, right? Doesn't it feel like
it's the most wonderful time
of the year? And this always happens the day after election, right?
With the kids,
you go to work, half your coworkers are like this. Hey, bud, you want to pick something up at the vending machine? How you doing? You want to go out for lunch? Lunch is on me, guy. Let's go. Other half of your coworkers. What do you think you should do first? Do we have a woman? I'm going to start with a woman. No, I don't know. Is Lynn? That could be a woman. Lynn Corsicana, you're first up. Oh, you tricked me. Well,
not a woman.
Too late now, Lynn. Go ahead.
Okay. Well, I want to see Trump secure the border and start to deport some of these gang members.
Well, that's the one that he could do immediately. That's the one he could do on day one because all that's executive orders. So yeah, if that's on the wish list, that's a good one because it can be done immediately. My number one thing on the wish list can't. I would like to see them balance the budget because when people are griping about inflation or the price of groceries, some people are like, well, it's corporations being greedy or whatever it is. No, it's because we don't balance the budget, and since we don't balance the budget, we have to print more money, and then we have to throw, we are increasing the same amount of dollars. I mean, more dollars chasing the same amount of goods. That's where I believe inflation comes from. And that's the thing that not just bothers me the most, but that hurts the poor among us the most. That hurts everybody except for, the super duper rich. They don't really care if your groceries double over the next 4 years. But that's not something he can do on one day. That's something he necessarily has to wait on the House of Representatives and then the senators, and then they're going to water it down, and everybody's got to get their little pork in there. But you're right. If you could like snap your fingers and get his attention and be like, hey, first day border, that's a good one, Lynn. I like that.
Yeah.
All right.
All right. Thank you, James.
Well, good call. Thanks for listening down in Corsicana. Let's go up to Wichita Falls, talk to Carl. Carl, what do you want to see Trump do first?
At the inauguration, I think he should offer an olive branch to the Democrats and offer to help pass two of their key issues.
What's that?
Campaigning on doing away with the filibuster and expanding the Supreme Court to 15.
Ooh, I don't know if I like either one of those. Filibuster doesn't bother me that much because that wasn't originally in there, but I do like how it kind of serves as an extra check, because a lot of people want to get rid of the filibuster so government can pass bills more easily. And the whole point is so government can't pass bills more easily. There has to be like an overwhelming consensus in one of the houses for some of these things to go through. And I think it's served us well more than it's hurt us.
Yeah, but it would sure give us control of the Supreme Court for a hell of a long time.
Nah, I don't like that. I don't like that. I mean, I like having control of the Supreme Court. I don't like doing it by expanding the court. That's what cheaters do.
Well, I don't either. They wouldn't go for it anyway.
Fair enough. What is the olive branch? The olive branch is
the point.
The olive branch, though.
What I'm trying to make is they're going to be against it.
Do you think that'll change some of their minds? The olive branch, if you go do that, they'll be like, oh, I guess he's not Hitler, and maybe we should give Republicans an open shot in the next election. Do you think it'll work?
Oh, no, they're immediately going to come out against it.
All right.
They wouldn't be for it. But I do think you should offer some olive branches on a few things.
I like that. Look, Carl's being magnanimous and a little more mature than I am on Election Day, Victory Day, because I'm gloating over here. I'm rubbing it in their face. Thank you, Carl. Dave in Miso Forney, you're next up on the James Show on WBAP. What do you think Trump should do first?
Okay. I think he should do immigration, number one.
Okay.
But my real point of my call is last night on any channel you watched, but specifically Fox, they had a decision desk. My question is, who are the faces and the names on the decision desk on all of the channels? Who decides who the decision desk people are, and why don't we know?
All right, so
they are.
These are nerds. These are little pencil neck geeks. Did you ever take statistics in college?
Yes, and I loved it.
Yeah, so the people who decided to do that for a living, they don't let them on the air because these mathematical minded people usually aren't too show busy. And they're not as presentable as a Megyn Kelly. But yeah, they have like a actuarial guy. I think it's the same process like, the polls use, and even like insurance companies when they have actuarial tables and actuarials.
Right.
It's just a desk full of actuarials if I'm not mistaken.
Okay. Well, no, I'm going back. Immigration, shut down the border, and let's start deporting.
I love it. And you know what else happens when the first time around, and thank you very much for your call, the first time around when he was trying to build the wall and he was like, I'm going to need $5 million $1 billion to build this wall. They were like, oh, jeepers, man, I don't know if we can come up with that kind of, that'll blow a big hole in the deficit. And I don't know if, got to check with our accountants down at the accounting. And after what we've seen with them just throwing money around, whether it's to Israel or Ukraine was a big one, or all these other initiatives, or bailing out student loans and whatnot. That excuse isn't going to fly this time around. So yeah, he could immediately start with the executive orders on the border. And the idea was floated last time he was around. You don't really have to wait for the funding if you build the wall through the military. And you could say this is national security. We already have $800 billion that's appropriated to national security. So we could just dip into some of that, $5 billion to build the rest of the wall. 800-288-9227 if you want to jump in. It's the day after Election Day. We're gloating a little bit, but also seeing what would you like Trump to do first. Coming up next, I'll ask David Hamilton from America's Future Series, and his big focus is on how these election results are going to affect the southern border. Could this thing really be fixed in just like about 2.5-3 months from now? 800-288-9227. I'm James Parker. It's The James Show. News Talk 820 WBAP. Now on FM at 93.3. Hey there. Welcome to The James Show. It's News Talk 820 WBAP. Now on FM at 93.3. What is that? What does that smell? Oh, yeah. That's the smell of victory. Oh, I like that one. That's a good one. What do you think Trump should do first? 800-288-9227. Vince in Bedford, you're next up on The James Show. What do you think Trump should do first?
Yes, sir. First of all, let me tell you that I had 2 emails from friends of mine this morning that ended our friendship.
Good.
Because I voted for Trump. Second of all, I feel he should stop funding the illegals and send them back. I'm 77 years old. I work part-time to pay for my insurances. And they're getting everything I get health-wise for free. That's all I have to say.
Right. All right. Now, I'm hearing that from a lot of people, and I wanted to bring you on before my next guest because he may actually have some good answers for that. David Hamilton's back on from the American Future Series. Listen, I've been asking this question, and I've only been on for a half hour. What should Trump do first? And the most popular request by callers and people who reached out on Facebook and emails is they want the border shut down first. Okay, that sounds like something he could do on day one. How long would it take to get that deportation program going, David?
So I view everything from a national security perspective, and I do look at the border as a national security issue. Every country in the world has a border, and they decide how many people come in from which countries and for what reasons. And we've had an immigration policy forever. It hasn't changed. People have said it's broken. It's not broken. We've just chosen not to implement it.
Right.
And I would recommend that the president implement the border policies and the immigration policies that we have on the books, and that if people want to change them, increase the total number, who gets in for what reasons, we can do that. But we do have, first and foremost, a national security issue in that we have a fentanyl crisis, we have people dying, we have sex trafficking, we have all those things happening, and that's what comes first. I don't think there are ever going to be mass deportations, internment camps, and things like that the left was screaming about. I don't think that's going to happen. I think the political will for that is going to be hard. People have been here a while. I think that they're going to come up with some accommodation for those folks. But having said that, we need to actually believe that we have a border, that we're sovereign, that people can't come across here whenever they want. And if you are a criminal and you're here illegally, we will find you and we will send you home. That's first and foremost.
Well,
one thing I
love about your response is that's something that we've all kind of thought in the back of our head. Like, do we really need new laws? Like, do we really even need a deportation program? Isn't it already illegal to be here illegally? Like, shouldn't you already be deported for that? So the real question is, but the real question is, how come we haven't been enforcing these laws all this time? Selective enforcement. I think that's the big lesson here. Selective enforcement can be just as dubious as having bad laws.
Absolutely. I refer to it as voter harvesting. We were all against
I like
vote
that.
harvesting.
Yeah.
But it's been voter harvesting for a long time. And the idea is that 80% of illegals, if allowed to vote, which they shouldn't be, but they create a voting bloc and they will vote for the Democratic Party. And so it made perfect sense if you're in the Democratic Party to let as many people come in as possible. And that sounded, I don't want to be political because my group is intentionally very nonpartisan, but it was clear to anybody who was watching that selective enforcement was done for political reasons. And it certainly wasn't done to stop fentanyl. It increased the amount of fentanyl coming into this country. It increased the amount of sex trafficking and the number of terrorists that have been able to sneak across. We have to focus on those things first, not only at the border, but through the ports of entry. People get to come in. They were allowed to come in, have a court date, not show up for a court date. I think what we're going to see is people who have court dates will actually have to have court dates, or someone will come find them and help them, ask them to prove why they have the right to be here. We'll also stop calling people asylum seekers.
Yes.
People who want a better life. People who are asylum seekers are afraid for their lives and their freedom because of their political or their religious beliefs. That's the definition of an asylum seeker, not someone looking for a better life. Everyone who came to America came here for a better life. Asylum seekers are a different criteria, a different standard. And I think we're going to see an end to that. You're not going to get an asylum hearing if you would like to move here because you want to make more money.
From a national security standpoint, what happens with some of our foreign policy? Are we still going to be involved in Ukraine and Gaza and some of these other conflicts overseas, or are we going to pull back from that? What do you think?
Well, we need to, first off, no one should ever listen to anything I say because I said that Russia would defeat Ukraine within 6 to 8 months, and many other people thought it would be even faster than that. So, take whatever I say with a grain of salt. But I do believe that we, in some ways, enticed Russia to attack by provoking them over Ukraine joining NATO. And what I've said on your show before is it would be great if we could go back to the pre-war status where there is no Russia in Ukraine and no Ukraine in NATO, and that we negotiate a peace so that this war, which is making some people trillions of dollars, right, billions and trillions of dollars,
right,
we have to end this forever war, and we have to have a negotiated peace. And we have to provide Putin, as much as we may hate him, an option that's more attractive than the one he has. Right now, it's either win or die and have his oligarchs replace him. He needs another option, right? We gave him Nord Stream 2, which made us look weak. We looked incredibly stupid and weak in Afghanistan when we withdrew there. Our president was weak, and then we pushed the NATO alliance. And that gave him a plausible excuse. We need to take away his excuses. We need to use the biggest sticks as we can, as much pain as possible to make him want to. But there also has to be a carrot. And the carrot has to be a pre-war, a return to the pre-war situation. He withdraws. He's going to keep Crimea. He'll probably keep part of the southeast corner of Ukraine, which is ethnically Russian and speaks Russian.
Right.
But if I'm an American, I say I'm tired of funding the war and I'm tired of funding your death, Zelensky. We have to come to a negotiated peace.
All right. Well, let's hope all that happens. David Hamilton, America's Future Series. Go check him out online. Thank you for your time on the James Show.
Thank you.
All right. Your call's next. I see you lined up nicely. But, let's talk about that. What do you think he should do first? Also, you're going to want to keep it right here because we're expecting in 20 minutes Kamala Harris to go out and give her first public speech since the election results were coming in. Yeah, she kind of ducked out of it last night. And look, it's supposed to start at 3 o'clock our time. I expect it to be a little bit late, but we will be watching it and we'll go to it as soon as it happens, so you'll hear it live. 800-288-9227. I'm James Parker. This is The James Show. News Talk 820 WBAP, now on FM at 93.3. Bob Lavelle, Home Marketing Services. Welcome back to The James Show, day after the election. Do you see this is going to have any effect on people who are on the sidelines waiting to buy a house?
I really do. I think, first of all, I stayed up all night last night watching it, was thrilled with everything that happened on it. In my heart of hearts, it's like this time of year, it's my birthday, James. And in 2016, the one thing I asked for my birthday was that Trump be elected. And he was. In 2020, I didn't think I had to ask God for anything because I thought it was a slam dunk. Made a mistake there. This year, I asked him again. And so I was thrilled. I got everything I wanted for my birthday. And I do think it's going to turn everything around, maybe not overnight, but definitely sooner than most people would expect.
Well, did you hear that, everybody? We can blame Bob Lavelle for 2020. It wasn't stolen. It was Bob's lack of prayer. Bob, interest rates, are they going to go down because of this, or do you think they'll go down because of this?
Well, let me say, in 1789, the first loan was taken out by George Washington to pay the Continental Congress. It was a loan for $200,000. The rate in 1789 was 6%. Okay, not a bad rate for 1789. The rates today are in the sixes. So, are they going to go down? Yes. Interest rates are always going to go up or down, but it's important to understand that timing really is everything. 6% really is not that bad of a rate when you get down to it, James. But there are things you can do to even do better than that 6%. And what we've been doing is having a lot of our preferred builders buy down the rate. So I think it's going to go down, and if it doesn't go down fast enough, get your house, because right now builders are absolutely stuck with a lot of inventory. That means deals. That means that we can get prices knocked down, get them to throw in extra money, and when the economy does turn around, great. Refi if you need to, but don't miss out again.
All right, you need to call Bob, 972-392-9595. He will get you in a house, 972-392-9595. You can go to blessyourheart.com or 972-392-9595. Happy Election Day, Bob.
Thank you, James. You too.
Hey there, all you garbage. This is The James Show, News Talk 820 WBAP, now on FM at 93.3. And I don't mean garbage. I mean like kind of garbage that wins elections. Yeah. Does that sound a little better? A little less insulting? So Trump wins. Looks like he's going to get the House and Senate. I'm asking you, what do you think he should do first? What should he do first? I didn't even ask Joseph. What do you think he should do first? Should he do the internment camps first? Should he do the ethnic cleansing? How about we just genocide all the trans people, because that's what they think is happening. I mean, they think there's going to be literally camps. There's going to be literally internment camps. They literally don't think I have the right to exist. I'll stop it. Now, here's what we do. We get all the fertile young ladies. We dress them like ketchup bottles. Blessed be the fruit. What do you think we should do? 800-288-9227. That was a reference to Handmaid's Tale. If you hadn't seen it, it's pretty funny. It's Rachel Maddow's worst nightmare. June in Bridgeport. You're on WBAP. What do you think Trump should do first?
Well, of course, the deportation is topmost. But in addition to that, I think that anyone that was involved, FBI that were involved in the cover-up for the assassination attempt in Butler, needs to be gotten rid of immediately, and they all need to be prosecuted. And I think they should leave before he even gets there. They should run.
You know what? I didn't even think of that, June. That's a great point, because you think he's going to let that go? Because I've fallen victim to this too. The media stopped talking about it, so I've kind of stopped thinking about it too. And that's what they want. But every time someone brings it up, I always think, well, God, that's so weird how that story just got memory hold so quickly. Yeah, and really, who's gotten in trouble from that, June? Like, we had a couple of people voluntarily resign, but we don't even know anything about that kid. We don't know what the overseas bank accounts were about. We don't know where he got his equipment. We don't know who he's in contact with. You and I, we do not believe that there's some 20-year-old running around with no social media footprint whatsoever. That's not believable. So
we know it wasn't just him, but they're not trying to find out. Now, if that had been someone from the other side, it would have been exploding still at this point, probably a campaign point, and he didn't even use that as a campaign point, which was remarkable.
Agreed. And how often do we have to hear about the Parkland shooting or Columbine or Sandy Hook or Uvalde? And these are distant things where our president didn't get shot, and we've memory hold one that just happened 3 years ago. Thank you very much for calling. That was a fantastic addition.
Thank you.
Thank you, June. Beverly in Greenville, you're next up on WBAP. What do you think Trump should do first?
I honestly believe that he needs to put a businessman in his cabinet to rein in the spending. And let's not take care of other countries before we take care of our own first.
Yeah, and I like the idea of bringing Elon Musk in there. Elon Musk is sort of like the court eunuch. Donald Trump doesn't have to worry about him being a threat to his power because Elon Musk can never be president or run for president. He's not a natural-born citizen. But he does have, like you said, businessman record. The one thing that I love about Elon Musk is he bought Twitter, fired 80% of their employees, and it still works just fine. Because I've up until this point, I have been kind of skeptical of Elon Musk's business ability because his greatest successes have all been built on subsidies. Whether it's the electric car subsidies that got Tesla off the ground, or all the government contracts that have funded SpaceX, starting with the original prize, and same thing with like the Boring Company and other things that he's doing. So this was my first chance to really see him untethered from government go out and be a real businessman, and he passed that test with flying colors. So yes, ma'am, agree totally there.
I believe he should go in and just clean house, and we need to start with a fresh canvas.
I love that, Beverly. I would like to see 80% of the federal government. I bet 80% of D.C. could go home and we wouldn't even notice. Thank you very much for your call. All right, I don't have time for another one. But listen, don't go anywhere. I got some other good suggestions over here. And if you want to get in line, 800-288-9227. But we're expecting Kamala Harris to come up to the podium in about 5 minutes to give a concession speech. Look, these things tend to happen a few minutes late. So if it's not exact, we'll go to it whenever it happens. You'll hear it right here. Kamala Harris's first words since losing the election last night. That's coming up on WBAP. I'm James Parker. It's News Talk 820 WBAP, now on FM at 93.3. Hey there, all you beautiful Texans. Welcome back to the James Show. It's News Talk 820 WBAP, now on FM at 93.3. I know, let's go. It's the day after the election. The sun's shining a little brighter. The birds are singing a little more loudly. The air even smells a little sweeter. The polls are wrong. But listen, we're going to take a little bit of time to gloat. But I don't want you to forget that we have
something different. This man scares the shit out of me, and now he's president.
for the rest of us. It's pretty happy. I don't know why she's so upset. What are you so scared of? You're fine. You're fine. Everything's great. I have no idea what you're even worried about. So what do you think Trump should do first? 800-288-9227. Let's ask Terry in Van Alstyne. You're on WBAP. What do you think Trump should do first?
The first thing he needs to do is shut the border down.
That is the consensus thus far. Well, it's not like 97% of scientists agree, but as much as we've had the most popular answer, that's that tells me that was the driving reason why a lot of people not just supported Republicans, but actually got off their butt and turned out. And that's something that is directly laid at the feet of Kamala Harris. I mean, Terry, who was the border czar?
Who was what? I'm sorry.
No, I was alluding to the fact that Kamala Harris was the border czar. She was the woman that was put in charge of this issue that turned out to be the very one that sank her. So, yeah.
She didn't. She's not even worth talking about because that lady knows nothing. She is a puppet.
She's definitely a puppet. I don't think like she's inherently dumb, but she's not someone that's just spouting ideas like a fount of knowledge. I think she's a midwit who's been trained to say things that sound smart to people who don't know better. And there's a lot of those people in this country. I mean, she did get a lot of votes for not ever doing a press conference or even having a platform or a voting record or whatever. You know, I'm kind of concerned how close she got.
I am concerned, but that tells me what is. There's so many people. I live in a senior community. Mm-hmm. So many people that just said, well, she's Democrat, you know. But you'd be surprised how many people. I was driving somebody to the doctor, and she said, oh, by the way, I'm voting for Trump. I almost wrecked my truck.
I assume that in senior communities, that's an overwhelmingly Trump demographic.
No, you'd be surprised.
I would be surprised.
But it's the generation. They're so used to believing what's on TV that they don't research anything.
Yeah, that makes sense. And there's probably some old people that are like, I've been a Democrat since FDR or something to that effect. All right, Terry Van Alstyne.
The one that voted Trump. But Trump also needs to beef up our military.
Uh-huh.
Because who knows who all's here. And, you know, between the weather balloon and the what are the things that fly around? My mind's blank.
Oh, they're like the drones and stuff. All right, I got to take some more callers. Okay, Terry?
Okay.
Thank you, ma'am.
Okay, bye.
Eugene, Frisco, you're on WBAP. What do you think you should do first?
Good afternoon, James. I think he should call a convention of states to address the Supreme Court problem.
What's the Supreme Court problem?
Well, they need term limits, first of all, 15 years, and he needs to enshrine it in the Constitution that the Supreme Court will have 9 members and 9 members only. In other words, we're not going to pack the court in 2030.
Well, why did they need term limits?
Well, I mean, Congress people and senators, I mean, they should have term limits too.
Disagree.
I just think that, well, here's the thing. You should have turnover in government. It shouldn't be a lifelong job, in my opinion. You should have to get back in the private sector because that's where you have to perform.
Well, look, there's some advantages to turnover. There's some advantages to lifelong appointments. And when you have a checks and balances system, this branch of government's going to have turnover. This branch of government's not. And so the bad things that infect the high turnover institutions will not infect the lifetime and vice versa. And so you have those two guys sort of keeping an eye on each other. And if they're both churned, then you come up with the same problems that you have with churn versus lifetime appointments. Lifetime appointments, that's where you get the most honest judgment, for lack of a better word. And also on the default, I mean, I can see why you would say that and why there's a little bit of a gray area there. But the founding fathers thought of that. They debated it, and this is the system they came up with.
I agree. I just nothing scared me more during this election cycle than the talk of the Dems packing the Supreme Court with 13 justices. You've got to have a balance on that court.
Yeah, that's cheating.
I'm really concerned about.
That's like when you're playing Monopoly and you're the banker and you keep slipping yourself 500s when no one's looking. That's a total cheat move right there. All right, well, that's a good one. We hadn't had anyone say an Article 5 convention of the states before. So that's a good addition, Eugene in Frisco. All right, we're still standing by waiting for VP Harris to come out and give the first words after losing to Trump. She's outside of her alma mater, Howard University in Washington, D.C. She was supposed to come out at 3 o'clock. I told you she'd be late. But it's not like her. They're always late for these things. So as soon as she steps out, you'll hear it first here on WBAP. Stay put. I'm James Parker. It's The James Show. News Talk 820 WBAP, now on FM at 93.3. Hey there. Welcome to The James Show. News Talk 820 WBAP, now on FM at 93.3. You're going to love this. Right now, trending on Twitter, the phrase, Trump cheated. That's right. Oh, questioning the election integrity is not treason anymore. Isn't that great? No, it's not literally Hitler to question the election results. It's so weird how that happened. It's almost like they're just hacks. 800-288-9227 if you want to call in. And we are looking at an empty podium out in front of Howard University, Washington, D.C. Kamala Harris was supposed to give her first statement since losing. She never conceded. And it was going to start 19 minutes ago. Maybe she's caught in traffic or, I don't know, had to take a dump or something. But we're going to go to it live whenever I'm sorry, that was crude. You're right. Rewind that. Take that out. All right, good. Well, we won't. This is just the rehearsal. We won't do that in the live show. 800-288-9227. 20 minutes late, those kind of pushing it. To the phones we go. What should he do first? Let's ask Jim and Ennis. Hey, Jim, you're on the James Show on WBAP. What do you think he should do first?
Well, first off, we need to thank the Heavenly Father that we had a safe and truthful election. Next, we need to get rid of all the lobbyists that's in the Senate and House and get rid of this corruption and have them start working for the people.
All right, explain. What does that mean, get rid of lobbyists?
Lobbyists are the ones that go in and have their money in and sit there and bribe the legislature, the Senate people and stuff, to have their way, have their stuff put in.
What about the NRA? You want to get rid of them?
No.
They're lobbyists.
They might be lobbyists. There's good lobbyists and there's bad lobbyists.
All right. So, see, this is why we have the conversation, Jim. You were vaguely saying you wanted to get rid of lobbyists, and I was skeptical because I don't think you do want to get rid of the lobbyists that agree with you.
Yeah, but there's good lobbyists and bad lobbyists.
Right, but that depends on who you ask. For me and you, Jim, the teachers lobby, the NEA, National Education, whatever, teachers union, terrible lobbyists. But for a lot of people, that's one of their favorite causes. So we have this thing about you can either be for lobbyists or against lobbyists, but you can't be subjectively just for the ones that agree with you and against the ones that don't.
Right.
So,
but if they line their pockets with money, that's wrong.
All right, let me try a different approach, because I used to think that too, but pragmatically speaking, it never worked out as much as if you want to get rid of like the NEA, the educational lobbyist, you don't outlaw the lobbyist, you dismantle the Department of Education. The lobbyists will necessarily go with it, because what would they be bribing the senators and congressmen to control if they lose control over the policy positions? The lobbyists would necessarily go away. So you don't really want to get rid of lobbyists. You want to dismantle the powers that have been handed to Congress that the lobbyists are buying.
Ah.
Right. So now
you are enlightening me.
Yeah.
Thank you for that.
Well, I think you already believe this stuff. No one's ever told you it in these words, because naturally speaking, it's like, okay, well then what do we do to get rid of all like the big pharma lobbyists? Well, that's easy. Get rid of the FDA, get rid of the Health and Human Services, get rid of the idea that government has at the federal level has any sort of say-so over our medical system. And if you want to go fight that battle, if you think government does have a role, you're going to go have to fight it at the state level. You're going to have to go to Austin or Baton Rouge or Sacramento or whatever you want to do. But the lobbyists from Pfizer and Moderna and Big Pharma, they're not going to be in D.C. anymore if you get rid of the FDA and the Health and Human Services and all that garbage.
Ah.
Yeah.
I'm glad you told me that. So I learned something.
Thank you. That's one of the best compliments I could possibly get, Jim and Ennis. Great call. 800-288-9227. Still waiting on Kamala Harris to come out and give speeches, or give her what we're expecting is a concession speech of some sort here. Man, let's stick with the phones. We got a lot of good calls. This one. Walter in Frisco. You're on WBAP. What do you want to see Trump do first?
Well, the things that he can do by executive order, and first I would say it would be energy and the border. So on energy, I'd say reinstate the XL pipeline, reinstate exporting of LNG, and reinstate ANWR, which I think have all been litigated in the past, so we should be able to do that pretty easily. and then reinstate all his border executive orders that got reversed. And since they were in place before, I think he could do all these, and he wouldn't get litigation against them.
Man, this is why I like taking calls, is because y'all remind me of things that I already believe, but I haven't thought of yet, just like Jim and Ennis did before you. But like Anwar is one of these issues that's been around for my entire adult life, and I just don't get it. People are like, you can't drill up in Anwar. Well, why not? Well, it's bad for the environment. This is the most remote location we have in all of America, the most farthest removed from civilization. I mean, what are you gonna bother a couple of moose? Like, I don't. The truth is, if you don't want to drill in Anwar, then you don't want to drill anywhere. You're just anti-oil. It's not like, well, we've got to protect the environment. You don't care about the environment. You're just anti-oil, and you probably can't even explain why. You just think, I don't know, global warming, catastrophic climate change, and all that stuff.
Exactly.
All right, love it. 800-288-9227. Let's just keep going with you guys. Bobby and Brownwood, you're next up on WBAP. What do you want to see first?
I would like to see lawfare resolution, 18 U.S.C. Section 242.
Oh, I don't know that one.
Those judges and it's deprivation of rights under color of law by a government official. Those judges and prosecutors were committing felonies when they did not allow him to defend himself and when they prosecuted him on unprecedented cases. It covers all that. They should have a division in the Department of Justice that just does that, covering the last 4 years. The Jan 6ers, all of them are applicable of it. The prison conditions they went through, all that's applicable under 18 U.S.C. 242. And 241 if there's a conspiracy with the prosecutors. Jack Smith, Colangelo, all those guys, if they were talking to judges, that's part of it too.
Oh, man, I hope there's charges that can come against these guys. I don't know enough about it legally to have a strong opinion, so I don't know if what you're saying is true or not. But if it is, oh, my goodness, yeah, someone needs to go to jail for all that. You can't just, I don't know. I hope you can't just lie and run people through the court system based on flimsy evidence with no consequences. But, hey, that's what we've seen so far, so I'm not too hopeful there. I hope that works out, though. Thanks for putting that on my radar. Let's go check in. We checked in with a crying liberal who's upset about Trump winning. Let's go. Oh, nope. Got to go to Kamala Harris. She's coming out to the podium right now at Howard University. We'll go live to Fox coverage.